Ron Hunter, live at 5, weekdays on Channel 8.
Tonight, the City Council adopts a budget, a concession contract denied, and a parish deputy pleads guilty to drug charges.
This is News Scene 8.
Good evening. The New Orleans City Council at this hour is wrapping up a grueling 12-hour day that centered around the city's budget. The $308 million package was adopted, but not until hours of debate over 2 specialized police divisions and the mayor's salary. Vanessa Dixon has the details.
The City Council struggled with the city's 1983 budget right down until the very last day for adopting it, today, with several issues dragging on for hours. The first, a move to transfer control of central lockup from the New Orleans Police Department to Criminal Sheriff Charles Fody. After extensive debate, the idea proposed by Mayor Morial was adopted. Still another victory for the administration today. The Felony Action Squad and Urban Squad, 2 elite police groups, will be abolished, the officers going to patrol units. It was a tooth-and-nail fight with several councilmen trying to appropriate money from the budget to go directly to those squads, virtually ensuring their existence. But Chief Administrative Officer Renard Rochon and Superintendent of Police Henry Morris strongly protested, telling the council it is overstepping its bounds.
But what you are doing as a legislator, Councilman, again, what you are doing is you are telling the individuals who have the day-to-day responsibility what to do. You are trying to legislatively take away the authority from the individuals who have the responsibility. Government is not structured that way for you to do that.
With questions being raised by the city attorney and administration about the legality of the proposal, it failed. And another attempt tonight to get a salary increase for Mayor Morial. Councilman Jim Singleton and Joe Giarrusso proposed raising the mayor's yearly salary from $59,000 to $75,500. That proposal came gift-wrapped in an emotional plea from Giarrusso.
Mayor Morial, whether you like him or you don't, you must give him credit for the fact that he has been aggressive, been honest. He's dedicated all of his efforts trying to put the city ahead.
If Mayor Morial had been a coach, he would have been fired long ago, because he has alienated you gentlemen. I know as a fact that he isn't too much loved. He's really let the people down.
The authors of the proposal were the only 2 who voted for it. The pay raise issue was once again squashed. The council is likely to review its brand new budget in March to find out if funds have been distributed in the best possible manner. Vanessa Dixon, News Scene 8, City Hall.
In other budgetary matters, the council, citing the city's high venereal disease rate, agreed to fund 2 new positions for the VD clinic. Also, the councilman appropriated $130,000 to the Criminal Court Lunacy Commission to cover the cost of psychiatrists needed to examine prisoners. And finally, the $25 cost of grand jury lunches has now been slashed to $15.
The Jefferson Parish Council is trying to get some of the money that would be generated from President Reagan's proposed gasoline tax. It passed a resolution today that 20% of the funds be set aside for local governments. The council also voted to take down the Do Not Enter signs on Wright Avenue. People who live on the street were angry over the vote, but other residents say they're pleased. The fight, however, may not be over. Some of those Wright Avenue residents say they may file a class action suit.
A decision on a lucrative 15-year food and beverage contract at the airport has been postponed. The New Orleans Aviation Board decided today to study bids from 5 companies and then make a recommendation. One of the companies bidding is Host International, a company that has been at the airport since 1970. Host currently pays only 10% of its revenues to the board. The new contract will require substantially more. The board took action on another matter today. It unanimously suspended the contract of its controversial Washington consulting firm.
In the last 3 years, the Aviation Board has paid nearly $200,000 to Kurth & Company, a Washington, D.C. consulting firm. The company is headed by Charles Kurth. The board hired the firm in 1979 to initially study the quality of airline service and make recommendations on how to improve it. But the company immediately began submitting monthly invoices ranging from a few $100s to over $8,000. Board officials say Kurth's role as a consultant expanded rapidly and that his company was being paid to encourage airline business and find new airline routes for the city. Similar work is done by the Chamber of Commerce, free of charge, board officials say, but on a less grand scale. The board voted to pay this month's bill, amounting to almost $9,000, but not before some members griped.
The reasoning behind the suspension at this time, in my opinion, this is just my personal opinion, would be to see if we have the kind of expertise that we can buy for our money. We want the best. I can tell you, while the Chamber was doing it, it was not looked on very favorably in Washington.
I don't think that we should be paying any bills where we don't direct, either this board or our director directs the service and knows what that service is going to generally cost in advance.
The controversy over Kurth's open-ended contract has been simmering now for months, but this is the first time the board has voiced its concern publicly. The result, an indefinite suspension of the contract and the possibility that future and past invoices will be audited. Pierre Degree, News Scene 8, Kenner.
Today's meeting was the first time in several years the board has met in executive session at the request of Mayor Dutch Morial. One topic discussed was the federal investigation surrounding those concession contracts.
The president of the company that owns the Grand Gulf nuclear power plant says a critical study done on the cost of the Mississippi plant to Louisiana customers is seriously flawed because it only focuses on the first 5 years of operation. That study said Grand Gulf will cost NOPSI and LP&L customers 30 to 45% more in their electric bills. It also said Grand Gulf will cost hundreds of millions of dollars more in the first 6 years than would oil or natural gas. A hearing will be held next Monday in the New Orleans City Council chambers on NOPSI's involvement in that nuclear plant. A former assistant agriculture secretary is facing a prison term tonight. A federal appeals court upheld the Tangipahoa Parish bribery conviction of Frances Pecora. It also upheld the conviction of her son, Nofio Pecoraro. Both of them were convicted of conspiracy, wire fraud, and using interstate facilities. Mrs. Pecora was also convicted of trying to bribe parish officials so they would not prosecute her son on marijuana charges.
A federal judge here in New Orleans has postponed until December 14th a hearing for State Senate President Michael O'Keefe. The hearing is for O'Keefe to respond to a claim he's in default of an $11 million loan. The loan is for O'Keefe's share of the Park Esplanade apartment complex. O'Keefe maintains the loan is paid up to date. Aubrey Young, one of the defendants in the Brylab trial in New Orleans, has returned to work in the State Department of Labor. Charges of fraud and racketeering were dismissed early into the 4-month-long trial. Young says he expects